Grant, you've spoken across the world on marketing to large companies, globals in the US, UK, and all over the place. What are the biggest mistakes that you find that, particularly maybe small companies from, say, again, from sort of 6 to 60 or even 100 make in the marketing area, particularly maybe manufacturers, for instance?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I think people make a number of mistakes. I think one of the mistakes that people make is that they, a lot of people in those kind of sectors, in my experience, careful to generalize, but they're very sales focused. Often they don't get marketing as much as they get sales. They understand people, knocking on doors, making phone calls, making things happen. And I understand that, and that makes a lot of sense. But what happens is because of that, they underinvest in marketing completely, because for them, sales is the engine room, having the people out there in the field knocking on the doors, and marketing often ends up a cursory, I say department, but really it's a desk somewhere in an office where some poor person is sitting there, being charged with looking after the business cards, managing the website, and posting the odd comment on Twitter and LinkedIn. And then, of course, people go, well, this marketing stuff doesn't work. And I go, well, you're not really doing any marketing. An odd post on LinkedIn is not going to do anything for you. So I think one of the biggest mistakes is to underinvest in marketing, because it doesn't matter whether you're in manufacturing, engineering or anything else. And it doesn't matter how small or big a business you are. The fact is that the customer journeys are migrating online. More and more people are going online as their first point of call, even in those sectors, in those more traditional sectors, especially as you get not younger generation going through, but a generation born at a different era coming through into management positions. Their first point of call isn't to make a phone call or go to a meeting. It's to go online and have a look and see what's available. Yeah. And therefore, that traditional sales engine room, I'm not saying you don't need sales anymore, but marketing has to pick up some of the slack from that sales traditionally did, because people don't take calls from unknown numbers anymore. People hide behind digital walls and these kind of wall gardens and things like this. So the first mistake that companies make is underestimating the importance of marketing, and because 20 years ago, perhaps it wasn't as important. And I accept that, but it's becoming increasingly important now, even for the smallest of businesses. So the first mistake that people make is take marketing seriously, because it matters, and it's going to matter increasingly, because when you've got anonymous customers going through more of the purchase journey without your salespeople involved, you need marketing to pick up that slack to make sure you're at the table, So that's the first mistake. And then the second mistake that people make, and it's related to the first one, is that they're so focused on, and I understand this as a small business, you need to get working, you need to, often cash flow is an issue, you need to make ends meet, but they're so focused on lead generation. I'm going to do this campaign, we'll do a direct mail. How many leads did we get? How many responses did we get? Everything becomes lead generation at the expense of brand. And the reason why that matters is because a lot of smaller businesses, if I may say this, often haven't seen the link between brand awareness and sales activation. So if you think about the traditional ice cream cone funnel, which everybody knows, right? And if you think at the bottom of the funnel, where the leads come out, right? That's your lead generation. That's your Facebook advertising campaign, your pay-per-click on Google, your direct mail, the exhibition appearance where you try to get leads. That's all the bottom of the funnel stuff. But actually the top of the funnel brand will affect how good your bottom of the funnel lead generation is. And if I just give you an example, it's a crass example, but you'll understand. Let's say Smith & Jones Computers do an advert on Facebook. So I'm on Facebook, minding my own business, looking at friends or whatever, and an advert pops up on the right-hand side for 20% off a Smith & Jones laptop. There's a good chance I won't click on it. And the reason why I won't click on it is I'm actually not in the market for a laptop right now. And more importantly, I've never heard of Smith & Jones. Now imagine the next day I go on Facebook and there's an advert comes up on my screen for 20% off a Microsoft Surface Pro, or 20% off an Apple MacBook Air or something. I'm still not in the market for a laptop, but because I've heard of Microsoft, because I've heard of Apple, now I think, oh, what's that about then? And I click on it. And now you've got me to base one, and then you've got me to base one based on brand. So what I'm saying is, I understand, you know, small businesses aren't Apple and Microsoft. It doesn't matter. In your sector, in your market, make sure you invest a bit in brand, and don't just get so excited by the lead generation that nothing goes into brand. Everything goes into that bottom of the funnel stuff, because actually by investing in some of that top of the funnel stuff, you'll actually find that your lead generation activity is, you know, is much more fruitful for you. So it's making sure that you amalgamate those two.
Yeah.